Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing what to expect when relocating and moving here to the state of Maryland. I've done it myself. I'm not from here, originally born and raised in Southern California, but my wife is born and raised here in Maryland, so we ended up here. It's already been 7 years since we've moved back here. So we're gonna discuss today kind of some bullet points, some things to expect when you're relocating here, what to expect from the market, what to expect from the process, and let's get started right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel, where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information you're looking for, you are definitely in the right spot. Make sure to hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of the new videos that we do each and every week, talking about all things living here in Maryland. And if you are considering making a move, relocating here to Maryland, if you're considering whether purchasing a home is the right decision for you and your family, we absolutely love helping out in any way we can with that process. However you feel comfortable reaching out, whether that's by phone, email, text, days, nights, and weekends, we've got your back. We're moving here to the great state of Maryland. All right, so as mentioned today, we're discussing what to expect when relocating here to the state of Maryland, and just thought I would go over some bullet points, maybe some things that might be helpful for folks coming from out of the state, as I did several years ago, and then I've been helping people make this kind of transition for a while now as well, and just figured I'd throw some things out there. Maybe it'll make your transition a little smoother. Hopefully we can help a few people out with some of the information here. So one of the first things that I like to encourage people to do is whoever you decide to work with, as far as a realtor to assist you with this transition, especially most of you, I understand, are probably coming from out of state. You're coming here to the state of Maryland with, a new job offer, bringing your kids, and it's just a big move, and I totally get that. So whoever you decide to work with, scheduling an in-depth call, Zoom call, and going over exactly kind of what your situation is, what your timeline is, exactly what your expectations are from this process. Going over in depth what you're looking for as far as location, what you're looking for in a home, what you need to be close to. Maryland has so many options. It's so diverse in housing and what it has to offer as far as location. So kind of going over that in depth with your realtor can help, hopefully that person can pinpoint some specific locations that will be a good fit for you and your family. So that is definitely something that I would recommend. And when it comes to timeline, do you have a home to sell? Is that kind of a contingency that you're going to be working with, and kind of coming up with a game plan there, giving our current level of competition and the lack of supply in the marketplace in Maryland and across the country. So kind of going over that. And then also, in Maryland, we're still seeing a lot of rent backs. So if you may need to be in a home, say by June, and you're just submitting contracts by May, and then a lot of the sellers are asking for 30 to 60 day rent backs, that could really be an issue with timeline. So just kind of laying all that stuff out so you can kind of go over with someone who knows the market, and just kind of, so they can tell you what to expect here, so that you can make sure you get all your ducks lined up, and it's not going to be a super stressful process. There's always a certain element of stress when you're making a move of that magnitude, right? But hopefully working with someone who can kind of guide you through that process will limit that and make it as smooth of a process as possible. And then next is going to be talking to a lender, figuring out what your financing options are. Unless you are purchasing cash, that's awesome. Most people that we come across are, need financing. So kind of speaking to a lender if you're not a cash buyer, and figure out what's, whether you're conventional, FHA. Conventional, I will say, in this market is almost a must in a lot of markets. I don't want to say that across the board, but with the level of competition, conventional buyers they're kind of a dime a dozen right now. So you want to, if you can go that route, that's definitely preferred. But talking to someone and seeing, what those options are, so you can be prepared whenever you are ready to start looking. So things are just, moving super fast. So I always like to tell people a pre-approval or pre-qualification, they're kind of used interchangeably. It doesn't commit you to anything. It doesn't commit you to purchase a home or anything of, like that. It really just is telling prospective sellers, if you see something that you like, it gives you the ability to act quick, which is really important in this market. Speed is the name of the game. And then it just tells a seller when you submit an offer, hey, I have spoken to someone, I have the ability to obtain financing should I choose to pursue a property. So this is something that's important, just so you can kind of know, what that looks like, and with the competition as well, having those conversations of maybe some more cash is needed with, appraisal gaps and things kind of, bidding up. So kind of knowing what that looks like, just in case, we need to adjust things to make sure that you're able to be competitive in this marketplace. And then also too, if you're going into those kind of details with people, and knowing what the market is too, maybe that can help with the decision-making process too, because some people just don't feel comfortable with doing what a lot of people are doing right now in the marketplace, specific to real estate. So, and that's good too. If you're unable to do that or unwilling to do that, getting that clarity and understanding what's going on right now, maybe renting's the better choice. But just having those conversations can be really helpful, so you can kind of get an idea of exactly what it takes, and then also just being able to act quickly whenever you stumble across that property that is the perfect fit. And then one other thing I like to mention in regards to financing is how working with a local lender can be extremely beneficial. So obviously, we never deter anyone from selecting their own lender. We always, just try to, explain how working with a local lender can help. And the reason why that is because when sellers and these listing agents have 5, 10, 15 offers on the table, it just goes a long way when the lender is local, when it's not a big box, lender. They're tougher to reach. A lot of times you get extensions. Email is preferred communication, and they're tough to, sometimes those people are tougher to reach on weekends, evenings. I don't want to speak to all of them, but that's kind of what, listing agents are thinking. They want to make sure that they can get a hold of the lender quickly, that the lender is familiar with Maryland closing costs, Maryland property taxes, that things are estimated properly, so that there's not an issue that pops up down the road. And having that local lender that's available 7 days a week, that will answer calls and text messages on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, whatever, can go a long way. To have them call and just kind of, I don't know, give them the warm and fuzzies, about you, that you are a solid buyer, that you're able to make it to the closing table, if you're able to get the contract. So a lot of times that can go a long way, having that local lender that can kind of speak the local language, I guess, if you will. So that's always something that we recommend to consider if you're open to it, because it can definitely help you when you're competing against multiple offers. So something to keep in mind there as well. Next is going to be having, as mentioned, a detailed conversation with whoever you choose to work with, specific to the current market. The level of competition, it's just still insanely competitive out there, and it just doesn't show any signs of slowing down yet. Even with interest rates ticking up, it's just very challenging out there. So having those conversations, so you know exactly what you're walking into, and that there's no surprises, and that kind of will help buyers to eliminate and minimize any wasted effort and time too. So that way you know what you're walking into. You can make a decision: do I want to do this? Do I not? And that way you can just be as efficient as possible with your transition out here. So having those conversations, knowing what that looks like. In Maryland, for example, we've got something called transfer taxes. It's 2.5% per real estate transaction. The buyer typically would only pay half of that, and the seller would pay the other half, in a market that's more neutral. But right now, the buyers, if it's a brand new property to the market, are almost always picking up that full 2.5%. So that's going to increase closing costs. So knowing what that looks like, as far as what closing costs are going to be, is that doable? Appraisal gaps with properties bidding up and having so many offers. If you are on a $500,000 property and you end up paying $30 for it, a lot of times that seller is going to want some sort of guarantee for that $30,000 gap. What if the appraisal comes in low? Is the buyer able to cover that gap? So having those conversations, knowing what that looks like, and understanding if that's something that's doable for you, if you're willing to do that, that stuff can go a long way, just to make sure you're understanding of what's going on in the marketplace. So definitely worth those conversations to kind of have those expectations going into it. Now, even though the market's crazy, very, very competitive, there are still some homes that sit on the market a little bit. If that seller is getting a little too, I guess, greedy, so to speak, if they're, pushing the market as far as value, buyers, buyers are not gonna move on that home. So there's definitely still some homes that you can get. That there's still some homes that will sit 20, 30 days if the price is not right. So there's still opportunities sometimes to go out there and negotiate. But if it's a very turnkey home, if it's priced within the market, those homes are going to move quickly. But I definitely don't want to mislead anyone and think that there's no homes that hang around a little bit. There definitely are some. They're kind of the exception to the rule, but they're definitely out there. So depending on your circumstance, there's definitely some workarounds. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then next, if possible, flexibility on things like closing. So as I mentioned, if you are looking to make an offer on a home that is currently occupied, where the seller is still living in it, there's a 50-50 chance that that seller is still lining up their next move, whether that's building a home, moving out of state, still needing to find a home. So sometimes that seller is going to request what's called a post-settlement occupancy agreement, which means that they're asking for permission to stay in that home for a given time frame after closing. So you would essentially close on the home, become a landlord for a negotiated period of time. Lenders allow up to 60 days after closing. So if there's flexibility on your part in regards to that, that's something that can go a long way to accommodate the seller with their next move, with their next transition, whatever that may be. So and understanding that that's still pretty frequent in the marketplace too. So as you're looking through homes, if you are unable to do that, then that can trigger a question too, like, oh man, it looks like it's still being lived in. Let's make sure to ask about that so that we know what that looks like. If it's vacant, we're good. There's not going to be any such request. But having some flexibility in regards to that, maybe asking the seller what their preferred closing date is, so you can try to make their life a little easier for their whatever their next venture is. So that stuff can go a long way in this marketplace as well. And then lastly is do your best not to get down. We've discussed how competitive this market is, so it's a lot of times inevitable that it may take a few swings, a few at-bats to get your offer accepted. So doing your best to kind of keep your spirits up and understanding that, at least this is what I tell people, if you're committed to the process, if you understand what's going on in the marketplace and you put your best foot forward, you will get a home. It's going to take, like I said, it's going to take a few swings, but having that mindset and that understanding, like this will happen. This is just, the environment that we've been in, for a couple years now, and it just hasn't slowed. So I just always like to let people know that too, because it can get a little, challenging, and it can get, easy to get a little down. So having that understanding that it's definitely gonna happen for you if you're doing the right things, if you are getting good counsel on what's going on in the marketplace, so you understand what you're competing against. That's huge, so that you're not, out there swinging in the dark and wondering why you're getting beat out and what's beating you, what you're not doing that, whoever the winning bid is doing. So having those conversations and knowing what that looks like is massive in this environment. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today. If you ever need anything at all, please feel free to comment below or reach out directly, and we will see you at the next video.